Hey, it's Erin. It is the off season, and you know what time it is? It's time to make some gains. Today we're going to be doing a mass building leg workout. So, a few things to keep in mind before we get started. Make sure that you're in a caloric surplus for this workout. During the month of December, it's usually not a problem. A lot of us go to holiday parties. We tend to eat a little too much, maybe bake some cookies. So, if you're in a caloric surplus, it's perfect for this workout. If you're running a caloric deficit, don't try this because it's a little bit too intense. The workout takes about an hour and a half and you're gonna bonk. So make sure you fuel up before you get started. Secondly, we're going to really increase the time under tension for a lot of these exercises. So we'll be incorporating pause reps, slow negatives, and doing 5 sets of 8. So we're increasing the volume too. It's a little bit different than the traditional workout. You'll find that it helps you increase that mind-muscle connection. You'll also find that you'll get mentally tired towards the end, and that's perfectly fine. You want to stay in tune. You want to train in the muscles. So for example, while doing the front squats, make sure that you're pushing your weight through your heels. During that pause rep, really think about engaging your glutes first and pushing the weight up with just the muscle group that you're intending to use. So it's a physical workout, it's a mental workout. You're gonna see great results. Let's get into the workout. First, let's warm up. I'm gonna do a couple of barbell complexes just to start with. If you're not familiar with these, I'll leave a link in the description below. This is an awesome way to warm up, to break through plateaus, to get some non-traditional cardio in, or just to work on your strength. So it's 3 to 5 exercises, 3 to 6 reps each, and your hands never leave the bar. So with this, I'm just using the bar. It's enough weight to warm up with. And usually I won't go more than 95 pounds on any kind of barbell complex. But here, the goal is not to wear yourself out, but just to get the blood pumping and get ready for this really good workout that we have coming. The first exercise is front squats. And we'll be doing 5 sets of 8 of all of the straight sets here. So I'm gonna start with 95 pounds, and it may seem a little light, but the goal here is to incorporate that pause rep. So you'll see at the bottom or at mid rep, I'm counting 1, 2, and then coming back up. And what this does is it places extra tension on the muscle, makes the exercise way more difficult. So while I can front squat quite a bit more than this, it's not an ego thing here. The goal here is to get that volume, to get all your reps in, and make sure when you're at mid rep or if you're at the bottom of the squat, shift your weight to your heels. Really think about doing that. Really think about engaging your glutes and your hamstrings to propel yourself back upward. This is the time where you're going to be sculpting and you're adding size and shape to your body. So it's really important that every rep is complete with intention. So complete each rep with intention here. And feet are about shoulder width apart. Knees follow the direction of the toes. Trying to keep the elbows up and maintain a neutral spine here. So make sure you're not looking straight up on the way up, as this can cause you to arch your back and can cause problems. So engage those glutes to propel yourself up. And I went up to 115, I'm back down to 95 just so I can get all the reps in. That is the most important thing, is make sure those last 2 to 3 reps are very difficult but doable. Front squats were the push, moving on to the pull. I'm gonna do some elevated RDLs. And here, feet are shoulder width apart, and I'm thinking about lowering the bar right along the front of my leg. So I'm keeping that bar as close to my body as possible. And now at mid rep, making sure the weight is through the heels, making sure I'm using the glutes and the hamstrings to pull the weight back up. And when you do these, really think about keeping your back flat. And you want to stop before your back starts to round. If your back starts to round, you know that you've gone too far. So 135 pounds on the bar here. With those pause reps, it gets pretty difficult. So I'm really focusing on lifting the weight with just the hamstrings and the glutes, and my grip gives out. So I try not to use straps very often, but in this case, it is just a lot of volume. So if your grip gives out, don't be afraid to get those straps, because you don't want your upper body to limit what your lower body can do. So here, got the straps. I'm going to vary my stance just a little bit. So with this set, I've got my toes turned out slightly, so my knees are going to be turned out slightly. I tend to feel it a little bit on the outside of my legs when I do that. So with this, you can think about feet close together, feet slightly wider, toes out just a little bit, but keep in mind that whatever direction your toes go, your knees should follow. Always weight evenly distributed through your feet or weight through your heels, whatever you want to focus on. Back to the push. Now, you'll see that the sled starting weight is 105 pounds. And for this particular exercise, that's pretty heavy. So I'm not going to put any weight on there, because I'm going to try to get all the reps in, 5 sets of 8, just like we've been doing. Now with this, weight distribution is really important. Just like with all the other exercises. I'm really focusing on glutes and quads here. So I'm pushing the weight through my toes, and on the way down, really slow and control that motion on the way down, and then try to kind of explode on the way up. And then as you reach the top, think about flexing those quads. So you're doing a little bit of isometric work both mid-rep and at the end of the rep. And it's pretty tough. You can see weight is through the toes. Try to push your weight through your toes as much as possible, because that's going to really hit the quads even more. As you get tired, it's okay to go a little bit more flat-footed, but here the goal is to work on that quad sweep. So just like with the RDLs, I'm turning my toes out on this set just a little bit, so the knees are going to go out just a little bit. That tends to work that teardrop area, or the inner part of that quad. So weight through the toes, really flex at the top. And by controlling the negative, you're putting a lot of extra force and tension on your muscles without going super heavy. So at the end of that 5th set, you're going to be pretty cashed, and that's okay. That's the point of it, is to get all your reps in, not go crazy heavy, but those last 2 to 3 reps should be very difficult. But pay attention when things start to get really hard. Make sure you're still lifting with the intended muscle group. A lot of times we tend to check out and just lift with whatever muscles we have available. Here, focus on those glutes, focus on those quads, especially when it gets hard, because that's when you're going to make the most changes in your physique, is those last 2 to 3 reps. So weight again through the toes, really slow on the way down, and explode on the way up. And make sure your back is flat against the pad. If you don't have this machine, you can simulate this on the leg press too. Just put your feet higher up on the sled, go light, keep your weight through your toes, and you can do the same thing on a leg press. You can do the same thing on a Smith machine by creating a hack squat, putting a plate, 45-pound plate in front of you. So don't let your gym limit what you can do. You can recreate this movement on a variety of different machines. So you see, start to fatigue, make sure you keep your core tight, breathe out on the way up. 5 sets of 8. Shifting gears a little bit to some supersets. So for these, this is 4 sets of 10. I'm gonna start with some sumo stance cable squats. Now you'll notice I've got quite a bit loaded up on that stack there. You wanna make sure that you start with your body weight or maybe a little bit more. So the goal here is for you to push your weight through your heels, toes out, knees out, and rather than thinking about squatting and bringing your upper body straight up, think about pushing through your heels and pushing your upper body back and up. And this motion of back and up really engages glutes, gluteus maximus, and medial. So you want to work on building that shelf. This is an awesome exercise for that shelf. Very, very scientific here. But pushing up and back at the same time, not just standing up. This is really important, and this is why you want to go heavy enough to where you're supported and you're able to balance against the weight. So don't be afraid that you have a ton of weight on there. You can lift it without a problem. And by going below parallel with your upper leg, you're further engaging your glutes. So don't be afraid to go below parallel. If this weight is too heavy for you, you can always do like a split stance or like a split squat. So you can go a little bit lighter. Same idea. You want to push up and back rather than just straight up. So 4 sets of 10 here. Make sure everything is slow and controlled and you're working on your intention here. So second part of the superset is a single leg calf raise. And I love single leg because I'm going to start with the weaker side and holding that plate, the 25-pound plate on the side of the leg that's working, it will help you train just a little bit harder. Now here and with any calf raise, I like to think about pushing my heels forward rather than lifting my heels up. And the action of pushing the heel forward is going to help you engage your calf just a little bit better. So here, make sure your body is nice and tall. Start with your weaker or your non-dominant side and let that dictate the number of reps that you do on your stronger side. Moving on to our last superset here. So this is the isolation and the detail work. We're going to be doing some machines, seated leg curl and seated leg extension. So 4 sets of 10 here. Now make sure that you're fully secured in the machine. Make sure that you are dorsiflexing those feet. So keep your toes up. This is going to help limit the use of your calves. You want to really focus on using just your hamstrings. So here, keep your butt in the seat. Make sure it's just the hamstrings that are working. And really squeeze all the way through. And try not to let the weight touch the bottom. So you don't want to rest at the top. You want to keep constant tension on those hamstrings. You can add a mid-rep pause if you'd like. By this point in the workout, you might be a little bit fried. I know I am, and that's okay. Just get all your reps in. Make sure you get the 4 sets of 10 here. We like to work hamstrings in their 2 functions. So we did RDL, which is your hip extension, and then we want to do knee flexion too. So you got to train hamstrings both ways. Seated leg curl trains that knee flexion. And then I'm going to go directly to the leg extension. 4 sets of 10 here. So you're going to go back and forth between leg curl, leg extension. Keep an eye on your watch. Make sure you're taking about 45 seconds to a minute in between your isolation movements, and those are for supersets. When you do your compound movements, you can take a minute to a minute and a half. Those are a little bit heavier and require quite a bit more effort. So this, not so much. Keep an eye on your recovery. Now, with the leg extension, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to allow the plates to touch. So I'm keeping constant tension on those quads. And at the top, if you really want to work that sweep, when you extend your legs out, turn your toes slightly in at the end. That's going to help really focus on that quad sweep. So again, keep the rest of your body still. Focus on moving the weight with just those quads. And at this point, it can be pretty difficult. But the cool thing with leg extensions is that you can look down, you can see what's working. You can see those quads moving, and it's the last exercise. So make sure you rep it out, stay present, stay mindful, and crush it. For these types of workouts, make sure you're keeping an eye on recovery between sets. Keep it to a minute and a half. You want that heart rate to stay slightly elevated, and you'll notice that with the pause reps, going a little bit heavier and doing the higher volume, that your heart rate will tend to be pretty high. You'll be sweating throughout the workout. It is going to be tough. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to click that little bell. You'll be the first to know whenever a new video comes out. And if you try the workout and you really love it, make sure to tag me on social media. I love seeing your training and love watching your progress. Thanks for watching. Until next time, train hard, y'all.